What's up, everybody? Tim Anderson here, aka Renfail, and this is the Inkarnate map making series here on my channel. If you've been here for a little bit, we've been doing some Inkarnate overview videos recently, and some people had asked me if I didn't have any tutorial videos, and I was like, I actually don't have any tutorial videos. So I've been using Inkarnate for about 2 years now, and all the maps you see here in my folder are related to our fantasy world, the world of the Weave and the Void. So we have a tabletop world, point-and-click adventure game, campaign modules, a source book, so on and so forth. All of that stuff's done through our Patreon page, and you can get the source book and everything else on our website. So all of the maps I've made with this program have been for profit. So I haven't made these available to the public. They are available for purchase in their 8K resolution on our website, and you can get them through our Patreon as a subscriber, and they're also in all of our source books and modules to use during play sessions, but I've not done anything out there in the public eye. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a tutorial series, and we're going to be starting off with a world map here in Inkarnate. I'm going to be doing this publicly, and we're going to then put the map up into the Explore section of Inkarnate so that people can find it, clone it, use it where they want. We'll be sharing this out on social media, so on and so forth, just to show everybody how to make a world map in Inkarnate. Start to finish. We're going to go from the continents, start with a continent body mass, go through the geography, putting in mountains, putting in forests, riverways, towns and cities and kingdoms and so on and so forth. We're going to do all that. So if that sounds interesting to you, like and subscribe, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Support if you can with super chats and super stickers on the live streams and premieres, as well as super thanks on the uploaded videos and memberships after the fact here. You can join 3 different tiers on YouTube. And of course, don't forget our Patreon page if you want to get access to all of the cool stuff we do over there. So in the meantime, though, let's go ahead and create a new map and let's just dive in. So I have the pro version. I pay 25 bucks a year as of this recording. I just do the annual subscription because it's worth it to me, and I sell the maps that I work on. Now, there's various different ways that you can make a map because you can do battle maps, you can do watercolor maps and overviews and everything else. And we could, if we wanted to, use the Fantasy Regional HD package, which is used for a lot of different things. But you can also see how it's used for creating world maps as well. But I think for the moment, because I want to show what it's like to build this if you were using like the free program, I think we're just going to go with the old fantasy world style because this is, as it says, this style works best for large scale maps, countries, continents, or even entire worlds. Now, previously I've made the world map we have for our world, the world that we Weave in the Void, is a parchment map style because that's just the style that I wanted to work with. But I'm not going to be showing that this time because I like to learn as I go along and do tutorials. So even though I am fairly proficient with this tool set, I've never actually done a world map in this style before. So we're going to be doing that together, which is fun. So once you've chosen your style, you then choose your editing resolution. Now here's the one thing that I don't know if this is capped behind the subscription or not. Maybe somebody out there who's on the free version can tell me, because I know the export on the free version is limited to, I think, 2K versus the Pro version, which I can then export out at Ultra 8K or Ultra 4K at 8K. But the question here in editing to resolution is, and I might even give the description here, it's the screen resolution, not your map's resolution. You will be able to export your work at the highest HD quality regardless of what you choose here, assuming you have a subscription. This only affects the image quality during your creation process. Tip, you can always change your mind later and open your map at a different screen resolution. So this, in my mind, is kind of important if you're going to be building a map with a lot of buildings and you're planting grass and flowers and trees and placing NPCs and going into fine details zoomed up really close. That's what the Ultra 4K is for because it really helps you get a clear eye at what you're working on, but understand that it can bog down certain systems if you're playing at like the ultimate editing resolution, so just bear that in mind. But we're going to go ahead and do that so we can show some stuff off, and it even warns you High resolution editing requires a lot of RAM and video memory and may not work on every system. In some cases, it may lead to browser tab crashing and losing unsaved work. If this happens to you, please use the recommended editing resolution of 2K. Well, hopefully we don't get any crashes. Now from here, you get to choose an aspect ratio. Do you want it by 40 by 30, 30 by 40, or 40 by 40? Or do you want to do a custom rows? That's a good question. I think we will go with a Oh, let's do landscape. Why not? Now it's going to go ahead and start that map up. And while it's loading, we are now presented with this. Now, if we scroll out a little bit, we can see that that is clearly a slightly rectangular map. Now, I also want to go to, can I do this? Nope, I'm going to have to go to Inkarnate. And I want to go to, I think it doesn't matter at the moment, but we'll go here because we're going to do something else. I'm going to show you something else. So once you've got this opened up, you have your map. You have a blank slate here. Now there are a few ways that you can go about this. If you've already got a pencil map done or an ink map or some other map that you are going to be working on, you could just sketch it in from by hand here with the tools and sort of give yourself some files. You can also, if you're running the pro version and get creative, you can upload one of your existing maps if you've drawn something, and that will allow you to then sort of transpose this and then draw over that. But those are advanced techniques, and that's not something we're going to be talking about today. Just talking about options that people have. But what you can do is if you don't have an idea and you just want to play around with something, which is essentially what we're doing today, because I have literally, I have zero plans for what this needs to look at. It's not related to any of the worlds I'm working on. It's just something that we're doing for the purpose of showing imagination and creativity in a stream. It's technically this isn't a stream, but it is a premiere. Um, but to showcase this to people, what it sort of looks like if you're doing it stream of conscious style, freehanding things and going from there. So if you have an idea, you can just start playing around. But the other way you can do things is we can go over here to the other maps, and you can go up here to the top tab where it says Maps, Explore, and My Feed. And what you want to do is you want to click on that Explore button. And this is where you get into some really cool stuff because anybody that has put a map up in the Explore space means that they've put their map up here for people to publicly look at, which is what we're going to be doing with this map when we get to the end of it. Now, you can choose to make that map clonable by other players, or you can just make it a view-only file. In this case, we're going to be making ours a um, clonable because we want people to be able to use it for their projects as well. So we go down here, we can look at, what do we want to look at? Well, since we're working with the fantasy world, I want to use the filter section here. I actually only want to show fantasy world types, but before we do that, you could scroll down here and you can see that there's all sorts of cool projects that people work on in Inkarnate. It's not limited just to like one style of map or anything else. People do all sorts of fun stuff with this. So like I'm loving this over here. This by the way, this is me getting sidetracked. This is a dungeon map. This is incredibly well done. Um, I don't personally like to put the grids in on mine because I prefer to have people put the grids in once they import it into their chosen VTT program. But if you're using this as just like an overlay for your own VTT, but you're using like not even a VTT, but let's say you're using a map on one of those digital tables where you've just got a TV put as a table, right? And you're sitting around that with your players, and you've got this there as a map. Then it helps to have the grids already in place because you're just showing a JPEG at that point or a PNG to your players. This is actually a map that they allow you to clone and edit. So if I wanted to, we could go into that, but I don't because we actually want to. But that is a really cool map, though. Anyway, we want to go in here and do the drop down to Fantasy Worlds because that's the style that we're working with. And what we're looking for is something that sparks the imagination. We're looking for something that is something we can look at and go, yeah, I could do that. I could make that work. So that's what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for maps that have been created in this style that look like something I could replicate in a way obviously we're going to be doing our own unique version of it, but something that I think I could do. Um, and I see several things that jump out to me right away. So there's this map. We're going to go ahead and I can't open those in another tab, it looks like. Um, that's not bad. Is this a fantasy? This is a Forgotten Realms map. Um, that's not bad. That's doable. That's doable. Um, this is also doable. Ooh, I like this one more than the other one. Okay, that's definitely doable. Okay, I like that one a lot. What about this one? I don't really like this style. That's not what I'm looking for. This is also pretty cool. I don't like that one nearly as much. So far, the winner is this one right here. Scroll down here though more because there's as you can see there's quite a few maps to choose from. There's tons of things you can look at. This looks pretty sweet too. If we were doing just a section of the map, I like this a lot. That's pretty sweet. Um, Not to take up too much time because there is a ton of stuff in here that we could look at. Like even they've even got this style, which is like a I mean, like I said, you can do any style of map that you want to. There's all sorts of ways to do it. Here's another version. That's pretty cool as well. Um, you got stuff happening in the poles of each. The transitions are a little jarring, um, but that's not bad. What about this one? Can I zoom in on that? Not enough. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, they've done a beautiful. Okay, now I see what they've done. Okay, this. Hmm. I might like that one more than the other one. This is the Ganya map because that one's done at such a high level of detail that you can zoom in and see all sorts of stuff. So we might actually choose to work with that one. Yeah, let's just do this one. So we're going to look at this and we're going to say, okay, is it clonable? It is. So we're going to clone and edit this, right? Now, why do we want to clone and edit this? Well, first and foremost, it gives you a chance if you've never built a map in Inkarnate before. This is why I'm recommending you do it this way the first time because it gives you a chance to see how someone else did it and you can reverse engineer it from there and figure out how did they make their things look the way they did in terms of scale, size, did they use any special filters, what colors did they use, what stamps did they use, so on and so forth. Now you're not going to be able to see everything that they did because some stuff like the actual creation of the continents, everything else, it doesn't track in terms of the assets that are placed in the map, but a lot of the other stuff is. So let me take a drink of my tea here. And we're going to look at this and say, okay, let's zoom in. Before we do anything, actually, sorry about that. Before we do anything, we want to save this map. So down here in the bottom left, we can save changes. Now we haven't done anything to change the map yet um, in terms of our cloned version. Waiting, waiting, waiting. I'm going to cancel that because I don't know what it was doing. It changes. Okay. What did I? Where is it at? Here it is. Save as a clone. So we're going to save this map as a clone, and we're going to give it a map, and we're going to call it Ganya Clone Test Map. Okay. Okay. Now it's been given a name. Now we can go in and we can look at things. Okay. What is this? Shiverdale. So we can see that they spelled the word Shiverdale. I could turn it now. I can move it. I can do all sorts of stuff with that name. I don't want to. Um, I want to zoom in on that a little bit more. We can see that they used the IMFL English text. They used a 4-size font. They gave it an outline. They used a white fill color. You can see all the things they did. Then we can look at these stamps. Okay, this is a Snow Mountains small. We can see it highlighted in the bottom right here. What is this one? This is palm trees, right? It has like palm trees listed here. just regular trees. This over here is the Dwarven Temple. This over here is Green Hills. So we can start to see, oh, and then like down here in the bottom left, these are the dead trees over here. So we can start to see little elements that they did and placed when they were making their map. Now we want to bring this in. Let's get it centered on screen. Okay. Um, they've got a frozen north, frozen south. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Frozen north, frozen south, and then we've got basically a landmass over to the west where we only see a portion of it. Um, so we want to make something that is similar. Obviously, we don't want to copy because we're using this as inspiration to do something new and different. So we have are they using the same? Yes, they did. So we could look at this and say, how did they do theirs? Well, first and foremost, you've got the sea. What color did he use on his sea? Um, Recently used open catalog. I don't know which water that is. Maybe it's water blue 2 with like some filters over it. So let's go ahead and paint real quick. I want to do the background. I want to fill the background, but that's not the color that I want. We want to do this, I think, right over here. Maybe this one. Okay. That's not a bad. All right, now we want to say we want to come to the foreground. And what we want to do now is we want to basically create our land mass. So what we have right now, you'll notice over here on the left-hand side, we got a foreground and a background. And it actually tells you if you hover over, it'll say foreground is usually used to paint on land created with the mask tool, which is what we're currently using. All right. Then you have background, which is usually used for water and ocean. So the first thing I did is I came in here and I changed the background and I chose to fill the background with this sea color. So that was done by choosing a color, going into the catalog, choosing a color for the sea, and then boom, I just set the whole background to that color. Now I could change that at will, but for now we want to go into the foreground now. We actually want to paint the um, continents. And we're just looking for a high level representation because we can come back later and we can adjust all of the edges and everything else later on to create all of these really cool details like coming down in here, for example, and creating this area where we've got like all these tiny little islands and everything else and these little bays and inlets and everything else. That's stuff that we can do later on. So in the meantime, we're just looking for a rough landmass for the moment. So all right, now that we've got your background sorted out, we're going to go ahead and actually paint on the continents. Now, to do that, we're going to look at the way they did it, and we're going to come over here to the masked options here. Now, this is where you can add or subtract, and this basically means you're adding a landmass or you're getting rid of a landmass. And we're currently looking at painting the landmasses on essentially this area right here. And what this will do is it'll eat into that background and create a landmass in what is otherwise an ocean of water. So we want to have the add rather than subtract. Subtract takes away, that gets rid of landmass. Add adds landmass. And then you'll see on the screen we have a green marker, green icon, which is really big. We don't need really big. We can bring this down a little bit. And you can see here, we're going to reduce that down, something like this, because I don't want something huge. And I can have edges and smoothness, and we want to say I want, roughly a roughness of, let's see what a roughness of 3 looks like. That's what that looks like versus a roughness of 8. That's what that looks like. So you can say I want roughness of 17. That's what that looks like. So I like to take it down to we're going to undo all those, by the way. I like to take it down all the way to the bottom, which is a 3. You can tell it to be smooth, and that smooths it out just a little bit. But remember, we're not worried too much about what the edges look like just yet because we can come in and do all that fun stuff later. So right now what we want to do is we want to paint the edges of something, and let's just say we want I mean, they have a roughly European and Africa continent thing going on here, with to the west being what would be like North America. That's roughly what I'm seeing here. Okay, so that is something that, I mean, we even have Italy over here. Like it's all, yeah, we can do something like that. So looking at that, say we have some sort of a place down here, and again, these are meant to be rough, you know, continents, because we can come in later and smooth out all this landmass, right? So they've got a connecting land bridge, which would be something like that. And they have this, which we could come out and do like this. Right? And we have the land bridge like this. And again, this is just a rough layout right now. We can always change this later as we see fit. And then they have like 3 islands up in here, so we could create like, we could have an island here, another one here, and perhaps a smaller one here. That I don't like a circle. That looked stupid. So I have to make that, and then maybe one right here. Yeah, something like that. And then they had a landmass to the west, which we can kind of do like this, just so we can have a teasing of something over here to the west. And then they had something to the south, which I'm going to skip the one to the south. We're just going to do this right here. One thing I can tell you right away I don't like that I did, we're going to swing this over. I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to subtract, and we're going to come in here and subtract this real quick, because I don't like the way that looks, because I decided I want to do something else with that. So we subtract all that. We go back in here to the add, make sure we're down where we want it to be. We're going to create that tiny little land bridge, which we can adjust later. And then I want this continent to be something like this. I don't know. Okay. So now we've got that. Now I'm going to bring the size of the paintbrush up, and we're going to fill in all of this stuff here, right? All right. So, and don't worry if you go over, because you can always fix it later on. But right now we're just painting, right? Bring that down a little bit more. Oops. Just so we can get in here and get these edges done. And again, I'm painting with just this particular color of green, which can be changed later on. You'll see what I mean when we get into it. But essentially, I'm just coming in here and I'm painting all of these edges like so. That we have our land masses created. Something like this. I went a little over there. It's not a big deal because, again, we can fill this in later. Go in here, fill this one in like so. Okay, I need to bring the tool down again because I need to fill here. That's a little too small. Like 25. That's not bad. Okay. So these are the rough land masses we have. And you can already see, like, I just went there and added a couple of splits. Everything looks extremely rough, but we have essentially land masses now, and we can start from here to develop other stuff. I can tell you right away, that it looks a little empty to me. You go over here, they have like some islands over here. So I think very quickly we're just gonna put, just so that we know we want some type of island thingy down over here. Again, these can be changed later on, just so that we have that there. I think that looks pretty good. I am going to subtract a little bit over here because I want to round this edge off so that we can clearly see that it's edge of the map type stuff right there. Okay. Um, Now from here, I want to save. We're going to call this new map public map for now, and we're going to click OK. And we're going to get that saved. All right, the next step is to look at, say, the Gagne clone map and say, okay, on their map, they've got lots of detail in the edging of this stuff. Well, how did they do that? Well, this is when you get into the fine tuning with the subtraction tool or the addition as well. So I would go in here to say we're still in the mask. We want to go ahead and add, but we want to do something that's extremely detailed, right? We actually want to add, um, where would we want to put it? Let's define this out a little bit more, this little area, and make this more of a peninsula, right? So we would come in here. Hang on, I gotta reset the edging here, and we would kind of just draw this out a little bit more down to a point, and then continue to do like so. Now let's kind of connect that. We're gonna fill that in like so. Okay. Now that's all filled in, and we have ourselves a little bit of a nice little peninsula. But now we can come in and say we want to subtract. We want to take it all the way down, and we want to smooth the edges. We actually want to use a circle shape, and we want to take it down to that final, that number one size. And the reason for that is because with that number one size, we can now come in here and start to really cut into things like this. So essentially, you see what we're doing is we're just slicing and dicing the edge, and we're going to start to get stuff like this that comes out of that. Okay, so just bear with me. We're going to come in here. We're going to keep doing that. Okay, now if we wanted to, you'll notice that they've got a couple of spaces where it's like a little bit of a bay. So we're going to open this up just a little bit to say shape 3. Okay, now we're adding a little bit of space between. We can even create, as they've got here, a little bay behind. So might want to come in here and maybe do it here. All right. Okay. Now we've got on our map, because we've got it turned on this way, we've got the water edging all the way around. We could turn that off as well. So I can give you guys a better example of what that looks like. I don't remember where to turn that off. So I might edit that part out while I look for this. Oh, there it was. That's what it was. It was the ripples effect, which you can turn on or off, like so. So it was originally on, and I turned it off. So we'll turn it back on, and you can adjust it how you see fit, or you can completely turn it off. They've got it turned off on theirs. All right, that gives us a little better of a look at what they were creating over here with this space in between. So we can continue to create that space by coming in here and actually telling it that we want. Go back to jagged a little bit and come back in here. Um, okay, that doesn't look too bad. So it just creates a little bit of an effect, as you can see. It doesn't quite look like theirs, but we're doing something slightly differently. Now they've come in and cut into theirs, which we're going to do here. We're going to create a natural bay like so. And we can come in here and sort of clear that out a little bit more. Right? Now, because they're using edges a little bit differently than we are, we can come in here and sort of fix things that we don't like. Create something like that. Now, I actually don't like the way that that looks sharp. So we're going to create something more like that. And they've got this finger that comes out. We're going to do that actually. We're going to draw that out a little bit more. Like so. Then we're going to go back in with the subtraction tool. And again, bring that size down to 1 using the circle tool. And we're going to start to carve this out. Now you'll see here, I'm looking at these two areas here to see how they've done it. Okay. Things like this. We could probably cut a little space out in here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's not looking too bad right now. Okay, maybe we want to. No, that was a little too sharp and dramatic. That looks like a angular thing. So do those. We need to redo that section real quick. No, that still looks too, so we just need to bring that size up. We'll just redo that real quick. And we'll go to subtract. What could have been here? And I'm already seeing that because this is a slightly circular shape, we could make this be like the ruins of an ancient city that was here, or some sort of thing that was very circular in the way it was shaped. So just in that, however many minutes that's taken me, we've went from a high level world map to saying, okay, let's start to break down these tiny little bits of a single coastline, which is essentially we're looking at the Arten's Bay and the Telerod's Tail, and just starting to add in some details to the coast to make it look a little more different than what we had when we first started with. Because remember, we started with something that's very generic in structure, and these are just the basic land masses. Now from here, One of the most important details to creating the landmass is we're going to go through and we're going to detail all of the edges of the coast. But it's not just about the coast. It's also about creating believable geography and things of that nature. So we're going to be getting into that in a different episode, talking about how do we make this landmass look more believable? Because right now it's just boom, a couple of land masses in the middle of an ocean, and they don't look like much. How do we turn this into a fantasy world and make it more than blobs? So one of the ways is obviously, like I said, doing the coastline, but geography is very, very important. And the most important thing to remember about geography is it doesn't have to match real world geography because it's a fantasy world. We're going to be talking about it in the next episode. So here's the point of the video where I say like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update and continue to get the map making and Inkarnate series when they're available. Support if you can with super chats, super stickers, all those things. Join as a member here on YouTube. It's a great way to support with a monthly subscription starting at $2.99 a month. We do have our Patreon page if you want to buy our tabletop sourcebook and adventure modules and get all our maps and everything else in there. That's over at the Patreon page. Links to Discord are down below. And hopefully I will see everybody in the next episode as we continue to build out this world map and make it available to all of you and the public as well. Stay tuned, everybody. Till next time, safe gaming.